Tuesday, September 26, 2017. Monaco 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So I'm going to look at the markets this morning. Well, this afternoon, it's gone past midday here in London. It's 12:22. So look at the usual early market activity. And then I'm going to look into one of the passages in a Pocketbook of Gold, a survival manual for monetary mayhem by Jim Sinclair and Peter Carlin. Just a snippet from the book. But first of all, I guess precious metals had a pretty good day yesterday, later on London time. It looked at the time that we're going to stay stuck around 1290, 1293 in gold. Silver was languishing below 17, and all of a sudden the market picked up, went through 13, strong move. Silver went through 17, and then there was talk that the reason for that was geopolitical, because North Korea, the foreign minister in North Korea had said that the U.S. declared war on North Korea, and of course the U.S. hasn't, albeit the speech by Donald Trump at the UN is quite belligerent, in my opinion, especially in an institution that's supposed to promote peace. And also, he was going on about a lot about sovereignty, but he said, "Oh, I'm going to destroy your country if you don't do as I say." But anyway, the U.S. hasn't declared war on North Korea. Personally, I think I spoke about the technicals yesterday. I said that there is a danger that we're consolidating and forming a little flag in gold, and that it could go down. Usually a flag in a downward, trend is a consolidation before another downward move, and vice versa. But that flag was negated. As I said, the only way it could be negated is if we go back above 1300, and we did. This morning, it's been a little mixed. It was stronger earlier on. We got up to 1390, but right now we're at 1303. The low's been around 1300. Silver, the low's been 1699, the high 1726, and right now we're at 1701. Not surprising, that's what usually happens. London comes in after the Asian session finishes. The Bank of England, the Bank for International Settlements, the bullion banks, and the LBMA that operate out of London, they come in and, manipulate the markets. Basically, that's what it is. And then the U.S. comes in now early as well, and the COMEX starts trading regular hour at 1:20 London or 8:20 New York time, and we could actually still see gold test 1300 again. I still think, though, more importantly is that 1295, 1296 level. So we'll have to wait and see. Zero Hedge is saying that, the euro and gold have come off a bit because there's a speech by Yellen, Fed Chairwoman Yellen, later this afternoon. It's at 12:45 p.m. Eastern time. And she's at a conference in Cleveland, Ohio, and she's going to speak on inflation, uncertainty, and monetary policy. There might be short-term noise, but I don't think Janet Yellen knows what inflation is, or maybe she's just deluded. She thinks inflation is the PCE or the CPI. She doesn't realize that inflation is what the Fed's been doing for the last 103 years. Money printing out of thin air with very little backing and basically debasing the value of the United States currency. I don't even call it a dollar, because a dollar is a weight of silver. But anyway, that's something different. So that's what Zero Hedge is saying. But I think it's all, prices move and they do what they do. There is manipulation, of course. Okay, the stock market. The Dow is up 21, 22,317. S&P is just below 2,500, 2498, up 2 points. Crude oil continued to do well, 52.20. It's down slightly, but you know, it looks like we've broken through that 50 level, definitively for now. The pound is a little weaker, down 0.25%, 134.33, down 1/3%. The euro is down 50 pips, or almost 0.5%, back below, just below 118. And the dollar yen is pretty steady. Dollar is 111.85, up only 12 pips. So the dollar is a little stronger yesterday with gold going up. Actually, the dollar index was up, you know, quite a bit as well, 0.5%. Even though the dollar is weaker against the yen, the dollar is stronger against the pound and the euro. And it was encouraging to see gold go up, which is unusual. But it just feels like maybe it's getting a little more volatile. Things are starting to move. Not sure what that means. For the UK, I just wanted to say something about, you know, the political season. There's like a Labour Party conference. Labour Party is very socialistic, and well, like right now with the leader Jeremy Corbyn, very socialistic, and their platform now is to nationalize 200 billion worth of industries in the UK. I mean, that's sad, you know, because people now think that free market and capitalism is what has created the problems we have right now. But it isn't, because we haven't got free market capitalism. We've got big government, corporatocracy, you know, corporatocracy, you know, almost like fascism, and more big government and you know, socialism is not going to solve anything. But many people think that what we've got now is free market and capitalism, even though the government still is almost 50% of the economy. So it's crazy, sad, but that, you know, that's it. That's the way things are. So now I'm gonna go and look at the Pocketbook of Gold, and I've chosen a passage here on page 70, and I'll just show it to you. Gold is a revealer of falsely stated wealth. So there you go. So what do the authors, you know, Sinclair and Carlin, say about this? Well, I'll quote, of course. When wealth is overstated and expectations for future wealth are unrealistic, fiat currencies depreciate. Well, I think we are in this kind of scenario, because, you know, there's a lot of billionaires out in the world. You know, asset prices are really bubblish. You know, and there seems to be no worries about, you know, all the debt. But anyway, I continue. The depreciation is borne by the citizenry who are forced to lower their living standards, sounds familiar, to compensate for both personal economic mismanagement as well as the mismanagement of the affairs of state. Well, that's the mismanagement of, you know, the national debt, the currency, you know, the governments, you know, the Bank of England or the Fed. Financial and military overextension has a social corollary in overpromised, i.e. Social Security, Medicare, overstated real estate, equities, affluence. As expense runs out of control, guarantees to the citizenry also explode as politicians seek to retain the privilege of office. Sounds really familiar. But the promises of wealth are false. The belief that ownership of real estate is a ticket to fortunes is hollowed out for what it is, a myth. Wealth that was taken for granted suddenly appears ephemeral. The amount of currency which one bought certain things no longer does, but wages have not risen along with prices. Well, this was written like 2009 or 10. It sounds so much familiar with what's going on right now. And I continue here. It says, instead of wealth, citizens get saddled with a big chunk of government debt, i.e. debt created by mismanagement. And I would add as well private debt they get lumbered with, a lot of people. The result is everyone pays more for food, fuel, and other necessities. Government passes on the mismanagement of economic affairs to its citizens by devaluation. Sounds very familiar here in the UK. We've gone from over $2 in 2007, the pound, to now around 134. Of course, they're blaming Brexit for it, which is total rubbish. As the imprisoned money manager Martin Armstrong has artfully stated, and I quote, "The decline in the value of a currency is in reality a free market tax taking away wealth that is overstated. So currency can also be an indirect tax to compensate for the poor management of the state. The corresponding rise in gold, especially when it is a global phenomenon, as it is now, in effect, a devaluation of all the world's currencies and a restatement of wealth on a global scale." And it goes on to say, as in both presently and historically evident, as is both presently and historically evident, the attempt to restate wealth to a lower level becomes a competitive event in its own right, as nations fight to devalue their currencies against each other to reduce the burden of indebtedness. It should be recalled that when FDR lowered the value of the dollar vis-a-vis gold in 1933, America was the 9th nation to do so in a 3-year period. And it finishes off by saying, falsely stated and assumed wealth, largely created out of the assumption of debts that cannot be borne, must eventually reset at a lower level. Populations bear that restatement of wealth through the expansion of monetary aggregates, causing a devaluing of the national currency that denominates their wealth. This happens to all currency holders regardless if they personally assume any debt. Gold rises because gold is a monetary proxy inversely related to a nation's currency. The burden of indebtedness is along with the standard of living. The burden of indebtedness is reduced along with the standard of living. Commodity prices increase. Debt deflation has become currency inflation. They are one. So there you go. Exactly what's happening here in the UK, and I expect it to be happening, in the States as well. They lie about the real inflation or the cost of living. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on steemit.com and also on Twitter. And I'm also going to post this on Top Buzz. It's a new platform. It's an app on a mobile app. So I'll talk to you later. Take care.